More than 2 million Filipinos are erupting right now, and the tennis establishment is in absolute shock. Imagine stepping onto the biggest clay court in Paris, completely written off by experts, only to absolutely dismantle an Olympic silver medalist. Almost nobody believed this was even possible. The bookmakers dismissed them without a second thought. The commentators completely overlooked them. Many so-called tennis experts had already written the match off before the first serve was even hit. But tonight, the names trending across Manila, Toronto, Dubai, and in Filipino homes everywhere are Alexandra Eala and Victoria Mboko. In their very first partnership together on a major stage, they delivered a stunning performance. They left a decorated Olympic athlete on the losing side of the scoreboard and completely silenced the doubters. What unfolded on the red dirt of Paris felt significantly bigger than just one individual victory. It was the exact moment the traditional tennis establishment lost control of the narrative. You see, the analysts did not just predict a routine defeat for this young team. They practically ignored their existence entirely. They looked at the tournament draw and saw a free pass for the established veterans. They saw two teenagers who were supposed to show up, play their part, and quietly exit the tournament. They saw a mere stepping stone for the champions. But the reality of professional sports is that matches are never played on paper. They are played on clay under immense pressure, where reputations and previous accolades mean absolutely nothing. When you step onto that court, you only have your racket, your partner, and your belief. To truly understand how this impossible upset actually happened, we have to look at a secret weapon the commentators completely missed. We need to rewind the clock and look at the storm these two young women were walking through. Less than 10 days ago, this historic moment looked like an impossible dream. Both Eala and Victoria Mboko were dealing with heartbreaking defeats that would have crushed the confidence of most young players. The professional tennis season is brutal and unforgiving. It does not wait for you to recover emotionally. It demands that you pack your bags, travel to the next city, and perform all over again. Eala had just exited the singles draw after a grueling and tough defeat to Ivic. She fought through every single point, leaving everything she had out there on the court, only to walk away empty-handed. Meanwhile, Victoria Mboko, despite being ranked number 9 in the world as a junior, came up short in a massive final in Strasbourg against Emma Navarro. They were both hurting. They were both searching for answers in a sport that rarely gives them. When you suffer painful losses like that back-to-back, doubt naturally starts creeping into your mind. You start questioning your preparation. You wonder if you truly belong on the biggest stages in the world. Then came a surprise that absolutely nobody saw coming. The doubles entry list revealed two names side by side for the very first time at a major main draw: Eala and Mboko. Instead of excitement, the reaction around the entire tennis world was mostly sympathy. The media did not celebrate this exciting new pairing of two incredible prospects. They felt sorry for them because of the absolute powerhouse team waiting directly across the net. Their opponents were Leylah Fernandez and Diana Schneider. We are talking about a former US Open finalist paired with the Paris Olympic silver medalist. On paper, it looked like a brutal draw. It looked like an almost impossible challenge for a brand new partnership trying to find their footing. Stepping onto one of the biggest stages in sports is terrifying enough for any teenager. You are standing on a court surrounded by passionate fans. The noise is deafening, the expectations are heavy. Doing it against proven champions makes it infinitely harder. It was the exact same surface, the same sprawling complex, and the exact same city where Diana Schneider had already proven she could dominate the world. Before the match even began, the television coverage felt completely one-sided. Analysts called it a complete mismatch from the very start. You had a first-time pairing featuring Alexandra Eala, ranked 88 in doubles, alongside Victoria Mboko, a player mostly known for her singles potential. They were going up against a formidable duo loaded with years of experience, proven chemistry, and an undeniable Olympic pedigree. The experts did not just predict a swift loss for the young team, they practically dismissed them as a simple warm-up act. They assumed the teenagers would freeze under the bright lights and intense pressure of Paris. They assumed the heavy topspin and tactical brilliance of the seasoned veterans would easily expose their lack of experience together. They painted a picture of a match that would be over before the crowd even settled into their seats. But there is something incredibly dangerous about two talented players stepping onto the court with absolutely nothing to lose. When the pressure is entirely on the other side of the net, a unique kind of freedom takes over. The expectations fall away, and only the pure love for the game remains. This is exactly why we watch this sport. The moment you think you understand exactly how a match will play out, the reality of the game flips the script entirely. If you are captivated by these untold stories of underdogs defying the odds, breaking the rules, and silencing the critics, you belong right here in this community. We track these rising stars and uncover the real narratives before the mainstream media even knows their names. So join us to ensure you never miss the next massive breakthrough. With the odds stacked heavily against them, stepping onto the clay felt like walking into a trap until the very first serve was hit. Before they even picked up their rackets, the analysts called it a complete mismatch. You had a brand new teenage duo facing a powerhouse team loaded with Olympic pedigree and Grand Slam finals experience. The ranking discrepancy alone was enough to make most casual observers completely look away and change the channel. Alexandra Eala was sitting at number 88 in the doubles rankings. Victoria Mboko was largely known for her explosive potential in the singles format. They were two teenagers stepping onto the most physically demanding surface in the professional tennis world. They were walking out to face an absolute juggernaut of a team. This was not just any random tournament location on the map. This was the sprawling and historic complex of Roland Garros. This was the exact same city and the exact same red clay where Diana Schneider had just cemented her legacy on the global stage. She captured an Olympic silver medal on these very courts in Paris. Schneider knows exactly how the ball bounces on this specific dirt. She understands exactly how the heavy Parisian air affects the topspin of the ball. She has felt the intense pressure of a massive global audience in this specific stadium, and she conquered it. Then you look at her partner standing right across the net. Leylah Fernandez is a former finalist at the US Open. She thrives under bright lights and heavy expectations. She brings a fierce left-handed game that creates chaotic and brutal angles on clay. Together, they form an intimidating wall of tactical brilliance and proven mental toughness. They were the absolute heavy favorites for a very good reason. The television coverage leading up to the match felt completely predetermined and almost disrespectful. The analysts did not even try to hide their bias. They spoke about the veterans moving on to the next round as if it was already an absolute certainty. The pre-match discussions focused entirely on how quickly the experienced team would dismantle the rookies. They predicted a fast and painless lesson in professional doubles tennis. They assumed the young challengers would simply crumble under the suffocating pressure of the Paris crowd. The chilling part is that even the most loyal supporters started to brace for a devastating impact. Philippine media outlets actually published cautious warnings to their incredibly passionate fans. They told the nation not to expect too much from this specific match. They wanted to protect the young stars from the crushing weight of public disappointment. Imagine being in the locker room and reading that narrative. Your own home country media is actively preparing a soft landing for your defeat. The experts give you zero chance. The algorithms predict a brutal blowout. The entire tennis world expects you to step onto the dirt and quietly accept your fate. This level of dismissal feels deeply unjust. These young athletes dedicate their entire lives to reach this stage. They sacrifice their childhoods for brutal training schedules. They travel the globe relentlessly. They earn their spot in the main draw through pure sweat and tears. Yet the established narrative writes them off before they even hit a single warm-up serve. It is a classic trap in sports broadcasting. The commentators look at the resume. They look at the current ranking. They completely ignore the human spirit and the raw hunger of the true underdog. You can feel the heavy tension as they walk down the tunnel. The crowd is murmuring. The veterans look completely relaxed and deeply confident. The teenagers look serious. The pressure is thick enough to cut with a knife. But there is a massive psychological flaw in being the heavy favorite. When you are expected to win easily, any small mistake becomes instantly amplified. The pressure strictly belongs to the favored team. The young challengers have absolutely nothing to lose and everything in the world to gain. The experts predicted a quick and painless defeat, but they were entirely blind to a quiet, shared history that was about to change everything. What every single scout and commentator overlooked was the deep history between these two. Born out of a fierce 2022 US Open battle, their rivalry had quietly forged an explosive on-court chemistry that no algorithm could predict. Most casual fans see a first-time pairing and assume they need months to learn how to play together. They assume there will be constant confusion and frustrating miscommunication. The experts assumed these two young singles specialists would clash on the court and step on each other. The analysts completely forgot what happened on the hard courts of New York. Eala and Mboko faced each other in a brutal and legendary junior semifinal. They went to absolute war over every single point. Eala ultimately lifted the trophy that year. But that intense physical battle did something magical for their dynamic. It created a profound mutual respect. You learn everything about a tennis player when you face them in a high-stakes match. You learn their hidden tendencies. You learn exactly how they react to pressure. You learn exactly where they want to hit the ball when they are nervous. Over the next 3 years, that fierce rivalry evolved behind closed doors away from the cameras. It slowly grew into a genuine friendship and a deep understanding of each other. This is the exact kind of silent communication you absolutely cannot teach in a training camp. Let us pause for a second and think about that incredible transition. Did any of you watching that brutal junior semifinal back in New York actually predict they would join forces to terrorize the professional tour? Let me know in the comments if you saw this magical partnership coming, because the so-called experts certainly missed it entirely. When the match officially began in Paris, that hidden chemistry exploded into plain sight. From the very first return of serve, anyone paying close attention could see they were moving as one single unit. Eala took complete control of the deuce court. Mboko commanded the ad side with absolute authority. They did not need to shout frantic instructions or panic. They instinctively knew exactly where the other person was standing at all times. Victoria Mboko was returning serves with terrifying power. She was crushing the ball with the exact same explosive energy that skyrocketed her through the junior rankings. She was sending a clear physical message to the Olympic medalist. We are not afraid of you. We belong on this court. Meanwhile, Alexandra Eala suddenly looked like a seasoned veteran at the net. She was calm. She was remarkably precise. She used her recent clay court preparations in Rome to read the passing angles perfectly. She intercepted volleys with ruthless efficiency. She was playing chess while the veterans were still playing checkers. Imagine being in the shoes of Diana Schneider for a moment. You step onto the court as a decorated global star. You hold an Olympic silver medal earned in this exact city. You expect a routine and boring victory. Suddenly, you are watching two fearless teenagers completely dictate the pace of the match. They are hitting the painted lines, they are smiling at each other. They are radiating absolute confidence in front of a massive global audience. The psychological momentum completely shifts in an instant. The massive court suddenly feels incredibly small for the veterans. The heavy favorites begin forcing their shots. They start missing the baseline by an inch. They start looking toward their coaching box with visible confusion and frustration. The young players across the net are not intimidated by the impressive resume. They are only playing the tennis ball. As the scoreboard began to tilt and the breaks of serve piled up, the entire tennis narrative started collapsing in real time. This was not just a lucky run. It was a complete masterclass in clay court intelligence. And it makes perfect sense when you realize Alexandra Eala had recently been mentored by the absolute greatest, Rafael Nadal himself. While the 19-year-old Victoria Mboko was busy crushing baseline returns with terrifying power, Eala was operating on a completely different intellectual level. She was dissecting the court geometry. She was anticipating angles that most seasoned professionals never see. This elite level of tennis intelligence does not just appear out of nowhere. It comes directly from the king of clay. Behind the closed doors of the Italian Open, Rafael Nadal took significant time to personally work with Eala. He carefully watched her move on the red dirt. He corrected her footwork details in absolute privacy. Nadal does not casually waste his precious time on players he does not believe in. He saw a brilliant spark in the young Filipino star, and he deliberately chose to fuel it. Eala absorbed every single piece of advice like a sponge. She learned how to construct points patiently. She learned how to use heavy topspin to push her opponents deep behind the baseline. Now that incredible investment of time is showing itself publicly for the entire tennis world to witness. She played the biggest points of the match with the exact same calm ruthlessness that defined Nadal for 2 decades. Every time the Olympic veterans tried to change the pace, Eala had the perfect answer ready. She stepped into the court and took the ball incredibly early. She neutralized the power of Schneider and completely dismantled the tricky angles of Fernandez. But the magic was not just happening between the painted lines, it was exploding in the grandstands. If you have never witnessed the raw passion of Filipino sports fans, you are entirely unprepared for the sheer volume of the noise. The loyal supporters transformed a polite Parisian tennis stadium into an absolute cauldron of wild energy. Thousands of fans packed tightly into the upper rows and completely refused to sit down for the entire match. Every single time Eala stepped up to the service line, the noise level around the stadium exploded. They were not just cheering for a tennis player, they were elevating a national hero on the global stage. Across global social media, the trending hashtag surged to the #1 spot before the opening set even concluded. Watch parties from the busy streets of Manila to the local sports bars in Los Angeles erupted into total chaos. The sheer volume and relentless pressure from the crowd completely broke the concentration of the Olympic veterans. They were entirely unprepared for this massive wall of sound. The pressure became suffocating. The unforced errors piled up incredibly fast. The established media had to scramble to rewrite their scripts. The commentators who dismissed them just 2 hours earlier were suddenly scrambling to praise their incredible chemistry. It was a beautiful moment of poetic justice. The underdogs did not just survive, they absolutely dominated the narrative. The body language across the net completely collapsed. The heavy favorites started looking at the ground. They stopped communicating with each other. Meanwhile, the two teenagers were smiling bright and feeding off the electric energy of the crowd. They recognized the moment and seized it with absolute authority. When the final point struck the clay, it was not just a massive upset. It was a deafening warning shot fired directly at the entire tennis establishment. The young teenagers met at the net to celebrate a monumental victory that absolutely nobody saw coming. The Olympic silver medalist quietly collected her bags while the bright colors of the Philippine flag waved proudly from the top of the stadium. We are no longer just watching an exciting tournament run. We are witnessing the immediate start of a massive generational shift in professional women tennis. The rapid rise of these two teenagers represents two explosive markets the sport has desperately tried to unlock for years: the fierce next wave of Canadian tennis talent and the absolute powerhouse of Southeast Asia. The Philippine fan base alone is a remarkable force of nature. You have a passionate nation of over 100 million people and an incredibly dedicated global diaspora. These fans are incredibly willing to stay awake until 3 in the morning just to stream a first-round doubles match on their phones. The level of passion surrounding Eala is unlike anything the sport has seen in a very long time. When you combine that massive, unstoppable energy with the rapidly growing Canadian support rallying behind Mboko, you get a powerful cultural movement. The traditional tennis establishment can no longer ignore them. They are forcing the entire world to pay attention right now. Now the entire landscape of the professional tour looks completely different. The immediate question is no longer whether Eala and Mboko can simply survive a tough Grand Slam draw. The real question is exactly how far they can push the absolute boundaries before anyone figures out a valid, tactical way to slow them down. The demanding grass court season is rapidly approaching. Wimbledon is waiting just around the corner in London. The incredibly fast speed of the grass courts perfectly matches the explosive power of Mboko and the razor-sharp volleys of Eala. They have already conquered the slow red dirt of Paris against elite opposition. Just imagine the absolute chaos they could unleash on the pristine green lawns of the All England Club. The established veterans are officially on notice. The prediction algorithms need to be completely rewritten. This thrilling partnership is evolving match by match, and the entire tennis world is struggling to keep up with their rapid rise. How far do you think this unstoppable teenage duo will go at Wimbledon? Will they make a deep run or perhaps even challenge for the Grand Slam title itself? Drop your exact prediction down in the comments right now and make sure you subscribe to follow their amazing journey, because you definitely do not want to miss the shocking answer when they step onto the grass next month.